We acknowledge the First Nations people as the traditional custodians of this land, waters and culture. We pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. We record this podcast on the land of the Boonwurrung and Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. Always was, always will be.
Rosemary, how have you stirred the shift lately?
Wow. Well, I'm learning to talk more about my books. And so I've got my first author talk coming up. And as well as talking about my books, I'm going to be talking about how we can ask questions to kids to get them curious about issues.
I like that. I like that a lot. So you may say, why stir the shift? Well, have you ever wanted to make a change in your life? If you're thinking about shifting your career or following a new passion, you're in the right place. We interview people who've made big transitions, and while we don't have all the answers, their stories might just spark something in you. So let's get curious about what's possible. I'm Michelle Benson.
And I'm Rosemary Patterson.
And we're the Shift Stirrers.
Today I would like to welcome the founder of the Rose Street Market Group, Adam Ferrante. Adam started the Rose Street Market Artist Group in 2003 in the heart of Fitzroy as an outlet where emerging artists and designers could showcase their work to Melbourne and the world. Over the past 22 years, the business has grown to 7 markets operating throughout Melbourne. Welcome, Adam, and thank you so much for being a guest on our podcast.
No, thank you guys. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. Okay, so I've got a few questions here that we want to ask you that we thought that other artists would be very interested in. So what was the catalyst for starting the Rose Street Market?
Well, I went to art school, went to VCA, and I was a sculptor major. And I came out in 1995 and then went traveling abroad to hone my skills as a sculptor. And whilst abroad, I saw many different types of artist-based projects. And there was a few in particular that kept coming up, and that being in Berlin, New York, and London, that were artists' market sites whereby artists had tried the normal gallery route and it was too expensive or they just couldn't get access, and they basically started peddling their wares on the street. And I came back to Melbourne and there was the crash of 2000 and it was very, very difficult to find work, especially as an artist. And basically started thinking about this idea of just peddling our wares to the major audience on the street, and came across a disused junkyard in Fitzroy, and it sort of organically started from that, really. I mean, there was only 10 storeholders, I think, and it sort of grew from that. So that's sort of the catalyst of how it sort of came about.
Yeah, and did this change and this catalyst actually cause a career shift for you personally?
So there was a shift in me personally as an artist?
I did that, because you then were running the Rose Street Market Group.
Yes.
And like, did you stop doing your sculptural work?
Well, initially the idea came about because, like most artists, I was working in hospitality to fund my projects, and a lot of artists work jobs that they don't want to necessarily do. And for me, I was doing bar work in the evenings till 4 a.m. And then obviously, the market on the Saturday initially started only on a Saturday, and it started at 11 a.m. But for me, the idea to basically start the market was for me to enable myself to garner more, obviously, funds, but also garner more time for me to be able to make the art. The funny thing is, when you do these sort of things, you realize you end up becoming a slave to the idea more so than enabling yourself the funds and the time to be able to make the art. So there's always been a balancing act in that regard. And Rose Street's become a bit of a beast in its own regard. I think the hardest thing as an artist is trying to free up the time and be able to have the funds to be able to nurture the projects and the art that you do want to make. And that's always been a balancing act for most artists throughout time, I think.
I agree with you, very much so. Rosemary, over to you.
Great. So we've got a lot of listeners who will be listening to our podcast and wanting to know about artist transitions.
Yeah.
And so over the years, what patterns do you see in artists who successfully transform from hobby to full-time career?
It's a difficult transition. The most successful artists and crafters that I've seen throughout the course of the 2 years at Rose Street are those that are really committed to the cause, put a lot of their other life aspirations and projects on hold whilst they, continue to make their art and their product. And I think consistency plays a huge part in that. Always turning up, by always constantly evolve their product or their artwork to suit the market, which is, for some artists, that's a really hard bent to get your head around. Yeah, market forces do play a part in transitioning from, being a hobbyist in terms of your art and to garner into full-time occupation as an artist and a maker. But yeah, it is a hard transition, but it does work. Those that really do put in the hard yards and are committed to the cause.
Is there one person that comes to mind while you're talking about that?
There's been some amazing makers that have come out of marketplaces. I mean, Bettina Liano, the fashion designer, actually started out by doing markets. But believe it or not, a multi-million-dollar fashion brand, actually used to sell their fashion through the marketplace. But from, say, a Rose Street perspective, we did have an amazing leather worker. His name was Isaac Francis. His business is now IE Francis. And he was an incredible leather worker that basically used to peddle his wares at Rose Street, selling wallets and other leather intricate accessories and so forth. But now he's gone on to having an internet company whereby he doesn't only do wallets and so forth and other leather products, but he's moved into lighting and things like that, where there's leather elements within the product. But I think Isaac was amazing in terms of being able to transition his craft into a lot of different variants on what the market forces were asking of his product. And he did transition very, very easily between, going from one particular product into many different products, obviously being lighting now. But yeah, he's highly successful now. We've had lots of people that have transitioned from turning up on a Saturday and Sunday selling their wares to opening up, their own shops, bricks and mortar shops. There's been lots and lots of success stories.
Yes. Amazing.
Yeah.
Lots of hints there for our listeners to keep your products varied and keep looking for new products.
Yeah.
And any mistakes that stand out if you're thinking about, simple mistakes that someone might make if they were trying to go professional?
I think the most important rule, and something not to, I suppose, get bogged down in, is those people that can't transition their product to meet the market. Those people that have got, it's good to have blinkers on, don't get me wrong, but if a craft market and a marketplace is the best point of call to actually understand what market forces want. It's a very intimate relationship with your market. You're talking to them. Whereas, look at big brands like Samsung and so forth. They actually employ companies to go out and do that research for them. But markets is great because you are actually there talking to the customer. Market. And they're telling you what is good and bad about that product, whether you like it or not. It's those artists and those designers and those crafters that don't actually pivot towards what the product needs and the change that need to occur. They're the ones that I think really do come under pressure in that regard.
Yeah, what a great lesson for our listeners there. Yeah. The next question talks about time, which I think it's a bit tricky to sort of answer, but how long does it typically take to build sustainable income through markets?
Oh God, that's a hard one, isn't it?
Michelle, you wrote that question.
Think if you have a good product that has got a scaling up of a price point in particular. I do say this to a lot of artists. There's been scenarios where I've seen artists turn up and crafters and designers that turn up with a $600 piece of glass or ceramic, and they've only got $400 to $600 products there on the table. It's although you can sell that high-end product at a marketplace, I always say to artists, you should have a range of product at a range of price point, because you could sell 100 tiny ceramic pieces for, say, $40 as opposed to that one product of $600. So it's really important to have, I think, have a range of products over a range of different economic points. Yes, but it's very, very hard to transition economically. It normally takes, some people get bang on, they do it straight away, they just come up with this product that really, really works, and their art or their, really resonates with an audience and it goes off. But some people really have to work hard at sort of nurturing that relationship and turn up week in, week out, and it can take years. But I've noticed that small micro businesses tend to sort of work out over the course of 1 to 2 years. Like really, if you put in, week out. So you just got to stick in there.
Yeah, awesome. And this is the last question from me on artist transitions, and so many great hints for the people. It's been awesome. But if you might have possibly answered this already, what separates those who make it from those who don't? I think you talked about varying your product and having a range in different prices.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything to add on that question?
Yeah. I've got an interesting little story. We had an artist turn up once. The market went off that day for some reason. People were just really engaged in that. And then he turned up the next week, 25.
Oh, God.
He didn't sell one. The problem with this individual was he could never transition his product to meet the marketplace or have a varied range of products. So he only turned up with one particular product. And he was just a stickler in the mud for that. He didn't want to change, even though I had, multiple conversations to him about meeting the marketplace and trying to come up with a range of product. He was just so committed to that one particular product and had such belief in that one particular product that you just couldn't sway him otherwise. And he didn't last. He tried it for a couple of months with the same particular product, and it just didn't resonate anymore, which is a real shame, because I think if he had a range of product, with, a range of varied price points, he would have probably end up, becoming a lot more successful than he was. Yeah, it was very interesting. But that particular day was just incredible when he first turned up. It was like that tulip thing where one person was standing around and 20 people were standing around and people were buying them just based on the fact that there was people buying them. So it was it was interesting. But yeah, I think the most successful people are people that can listen to their audience in a market setting and really respond to what their audience really want in that product, or, the pros and cons of their work. There's a lot of positives to get from that feedback. But yeah, you can't shun away from that, can you?
No. Oh, much gold in that. So handing over to Michelle now for the growth, for the practical wisdom.
I was just going to respond to some of your answers there, because as someone who sells in markets across the Rose Street Group, I've found that I've had to curate my work for different markets to look at the customer that sells in one market and look at the buys in one market and the customer that buys in another market. Yeah. To actually go, I'm going to Rose Street. I need a lot more little things this week. And I'm going here. I need big things here. And to the extent now I've researched it enough that I've actually started to write it down. Yeah. So I'm ready for the markets. Well, and I think that's so important.
It is. And that just comes through trialing and testing the marketplace, doesn't it?
And having weeks where you're not doing very well, I think is important, because they're the weeks you go, what am I doing wrong? And in a good, constructive way, not in a stabbing yourself way. So, yeah, it's worth it. So, what's some advice you would give to someone at their first market? Like they've rocked up, they've booked in, they're so excited because they've got into the Rose Street Market artist market. Yep. They're zooped up, they've got their tablecloth, they've got their table, they think they're all ready.
No. I'm OCD about aesthetics, and I think presentation is a really big key. Those people that can build and set up a stall that looks so engaged and interesting are those people that really, in Rose Street, it's a small market. It's a very concentrated market. There's lots and lots and lots of product in a very, very small space. I mean, it's only 855 squares, that space. So it's a tiny market, really. And those, you need to drag customers into your store. So those people that set up a store and has great presentation, but also those that are truly engaged and are ready to engage with their audience are those that really attract people to venture in. I can't believe the amount of people that turn up week in, week out, that can sit behind their stall, be on their phone or read a book and not be engaged. I mean, it's a marketplace. You need to be engaged. I mean, it's crazy those people that can turn up. I mean, if you walk into, say, Armani or those high-end retail stores, someone meets and greets you at the door, don't they? They want to know, help you. And at the end of the day, markets are retail environments. You need to meet, greet, and be engaged with your customer base, and you need to pull them in. There's next door to you, like only half a meter away. There's another store is trying to take your market. Mm-hmm. So I think being ready to be engaged and to be able to talk about your product and have great presentation on how you deliver your product to the marketplace is a key. So presentation, being engaged, and being ready to be engaged is, I think, worth its weight in gold.
What sort of financial realities do people need to face when they're doing this? For me, one of the financial realities is not every week's a great week. You get your down weeks. I mean, I've worked in finance and the retail side. I worked for Crocs for many years. And their worst month always was September. It's not a great month. And do you think that the stallholders, the smart stallholders know that, but the stallholders who are coming in, are they aware of those market fluctuations?
Yeah, look, I worked a part-time job for 3 years when Rose Street was setting up. And to tell you the truth, on the third year, I thought, oh, you know what, this is all too hard. It's not going anywhere. And actually, believe it or not, I don't tell many people this, but I actually held a impromptu meeting on site on a Saturday afternoon and got all the storeholders involved and just said, look, is this actually worthwhile? I mean, there was only 20 of us. And thank God I got vetoed in a vote because I truly thought the project had no legs. And it was only, I think it was only about 6 weeks after that I think The Age rang me up and they said, could we do a little article on you guys? Because we were pretty much at the forefront of the craft boom. I mean, that sort of early 2000s craft boom that occurred. And we were on that crest of the wave. And if it wasn't for that article, literally, I don't think that project would have taken off. But to go back to the economics, look at, I did a part-time job for 3 years. It was really, really hard. I was, there was moments in time that I thought, oh, this is so hard. Is it even worthwhile doing this? So look, a lot of our storeholders are part-timers. They actually work full-time jobs and they do this on the side. Hats off to them because it's incredibly hard making product, but it's a passion project for most people. But fluctuations of market. Yeah, for sure. Economic fluctuations. Yeah, there's down times in retail and there's up times in retail. And so you've got to be ready for the down and ready for the ups. It's funny that it's interesting because we actually have storeholders that only do certain times of the year. We've got artists that only make winter-based sort of knitwear, so they only do winter. And then we've got other makers that only do sort of summer-based products. But then we've got other people that purely only rock up for the good times. So the Christmas markets, they only turn up for Christmas. Although, we don't necessarily give them stalls anymore because we try to, give it to the people that have been with us through the thick and thin. Some people only want to turn up for the good times, the economic good times. But you've got to be ready for the lows and the highs. It is very difficult, and especially in the current economic environment, it's very difficult. But it's even harder for bricks and mortar, I'll tell you right now. But we do try to make our markets as cheap as possible. For storeholders, I think we're really well priced in that regard to keep people in there. Because our, number one, our motto and our I think our core belief and values in our product is that we're here to showcase emerging talent. We're not here to make money off artists and designers. We're here to showcase emerging talent, and we want to be priced to a point where people can accommodate that week in, week out.
I think I really like that. I'm going to write showcasing emerging product and,
I love
and use
that.
that as the heading for this actual podcast, because I
Yep.
think that's really good. I'm not going to ask the consistency question because I think that we've really covered that. So, Rosemary, I'm going to hand it over to you for the growth journey.
Yep.
Great. So you've grown from one market set to 7. What an amazing journey, and what a success. What's the biggest lesson from that journey?
Really good personnel around you. I think you've got to be an ideas person as well. I think having a product like Rose Street, you do have a lot of other businesses that want to be part of that. And we've had lots and lots and lots of opportunities to, build other markets elsewhere. But I think you need to be able to choose and have foresight into where those markets can grow as well. But self-belief, you've got to have self-belief. So, something that I've really had to, in my own life, have had to really nurture, especially through the low times. Having a sense of self-belief in what you do is really essential, I think. Yeah, but it's been difficult. I think being a creative has really helped as well, because I'm a big ideas person, a big project person. So I think thinking outside the box has really helped us a lot. I think if we were narrow focused and we didn't have that big project sensibility, I don't think Rose Street would be even a thing, because it took a lot of guts to open up a market in the back streets of Victoria in a junkyard, I can tell you right now. A lot of people thought we were crazy. But yeah, I think having that big project, big ideas, sensibility is key as well.
Awesome. And I think you thought outside the box when you got all the marketeers together. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people would have thought to do that. Amazing. And do you see markets still fitting in the future for creative careers?
I do. I think markets have a real place in the retail environment. Actually, if anything, I think markets are almost in a stronger position currently in the current economic environment, because bricks and mortar is just so difficult to make work. I mean, you've got land tax, the wages, all the overheads, electricity, gas, you name it. Whereas markets, I mean, you turn up, you pitch a tent, and pay you whatever it is, $100 to be there for the day, and it's just up to you then. It's just like bang, bang, bang. If you make your stall, make your fee, make some on top, then you come back the next week and do it all over again. But I think markets are here to stay. I mean, look, markets have been around since the dawn of time, really. I mean, you only have to look to Europe and look at marketplaces. They've been here forever. But there has been a huge resurgence to markets since we started. I think when we started, there was only 3 other markets. So, and now, I mean, any given weekend, there's a couple of hundred.
Yeah.
It's been difficult for us as well. I mean, we've been very lucky and fortunate that we were one of the first in that space. I think starting a market now would be quite difficult to garner that traffic, and also store holders as well. We've been very fortunate that we've been in there early. I think markets are here to stay.
That's awesome.
That's
And great for creatives to hear that.
For sure.
I will say one thing about working with the Rose Street markets. I think you guys create a loyalty in your stall holders. I think, like, I personally feel very loyal to you. You give me spots. I want to be there, and I enjoy the people around me. And so it creates a loyalty. For the listeners considering going down that market path, just one key piece of advice for them.
I think you need to be ready for the highs and the lows. It's sometimes when you got such a belief in what you do and you enter the marketplace, and this happened to me personally. I left art school thinking I was the next Picasso, and I had a show and I thought it was amazing. But I had a very, very close friend of mine that pulled me aside after the show and said, it's not actually the product, it's not a good show, and it really struck a chord with me because sometimes you get so sucked into your own mental state about what you do that you can't see outside the box, and you can't take, some people can't take criticism. I mean, I was really thrown back, especially being a close friend. I was really thrown back, but it was probably the best piece of advice that I ever received. And to be able to take that advice on board and to really start pushing the boundaries of what you can and can't do. But yeah, for me, that would be the key piece of advice would be to keep steering the ship in the right direction through the good times and the lulls, because there'll be definitely lots of lulls. And there'll be definitely lots of people around you to tell you so when you shit. I'll tell you right now. But yeah, you need to stay focused and you need to just keep steering the ship in the direction that you know is forward. It's hard. It is hard. It's very hard.
Mm-hmm.
But
Thank you.
What better, more rewarding career path could you ever chosen than a creative one?
I agree. I totally agree. So Rosemary's got one final question for you. So
Yes.
Rosemary,
Yep, such gold in today's chat. If you could give your past self one superpower to make the transition easier, what would it be?
it can't be lots of money.
No, I'm not in it for the money. It's never been about the money for me. Self-belief. I really struggle with self-belief for such a long time. I still struggle with self-belief at times, although it's, I've had a lot more successes now than I have had failures. But if I could have a true superpower, be a strong sense of self-belief in my own self and my strengths and weaknesses. I've really struggled with self-belief throughout my existence. So yeah, it would be self-belief.
Right.
We've actually, sorry, Rosemary.
I was going to say, I'm taking that on board. I'm going to work on my self-belief.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I think it's something we all struggle for, is imposter syndrome. And but
Yeah.
I will actually add this, Adam, and that is, I think that your level of humility makes you good at what you do.
Well, thanks, Michelle. I mean, look, I think where Rose Street stems from is good family, core values, and a sense of community. I think, I originally started because I wanted to build a community around me and also around the people around me. And I think that core values has never shifted. And I think people really pick up on that. I think that people really pick up on, originally when I started, I mean, it was very, very difficult. So my family came on board to help me out. My mother used to, believe it or not, my mother used to rock up and do the canteen and sell sandwiches and so forth to the artists on the weekend. And then my sisters used to turn up and help out. And then my brother, who was in advertising, hated his job. And then he was sitting on the couch and my mum rang me up and said, look, your brother's sitting on the couch. You need to employ him. I was like, I can't even afford to pay myself. And he came on board and Christian has really revolutionized that market, just bringing on that amazing business brain, because I didn't have a business brain. I only had the creative brain. And it's been look, the core value in Rose Street is about community. And I think that's one thing we've never lost. Thing that people really, that's what they see. They feel that sense of community. It's not about the money. It's not about anything else. I think it's that core community value, for me anyway. And the fact that we love artists and we're artists and we're creators and we know how hard it is, So hopefully everyone else picks up on that when they come down and visit, because it's a great group of people. It really is.
And for those who don't know, the website address is www.Rose Street Markets. And not only the Rose Street Market is on there, but you can see all the other markets that are available to either become a storeholder or just to visit. And Adam, we thank you. This has been wonderful. Thank you.
You're doing great work. Well done. Thank you.
Wow, that interview with Adam was fantastic. He's such a great interviewer. Please, everybody, do go and visit him at the Rose Street Markets, because I think that, what they've done is fantastic. So, Rosemary, what's inspiring you this week?
I've got lots of children's books on my bookshelves. I'm inspired, but I pulled this one off because this little book is The Little Prince. A lot of people would know it. It's full of beautiful drawings that are all sort of naive and hand-painted. And my books, one of my goals was that they would be hand-painted about current issues. and interesting in that way.
That's fantastic. I'm so glad that you're being inspired by other people's work. Authors and illustrators throughout the years have done beautiful work, and I'm inspired by your work, so I'm glad you're inspired by others.
Thank you, Michelle. And it's been great that you've bought a couple of my books for your grandchildren.
Oh, they love them.
Now, what about you? What's inspiring you?
I just went up to Port Douglas for my sister's 60th birthday. Happy birthday, Simone. And when I was there, I was on the beach and I saw these little tiny balls. What it turns out they are is that crabs come along and they put the sand in their mouth so that they can filter the nutrients that they're getting from the sand through into their bodies. And then they spit the sand out, which sounds sort of like weird, but really cool because it's environmentally and ecologically interesting how that all works. From that, I looked at these little balls and I thought they would look really nice on the edges of the bowls and the platters I make for my livable art. So I've been inspired to play and create some new designs using those, which still in the incubation stage, but I'm looking forward to where I'm going to go with that.
That is gorgeous. Did you see any crabs?
No, I didn't see any crabs. I saw lots of little crab balls, but no crabs. All right. Who's coming up in our interviews on the 3rd of December, Rosemary?
Yes, we have our beautiful Amy Kennedy from the daringartist.com. She's a ceramic artist and an artist mentor, and we love her so much. It's going to be awesome. We're doing this podcast really because we're in her Evolve program and we are evolving into lots of other things. So it's going to be great.
Yes, she's another person who's been transformational in people's lives, and I'm so excited about this interview. Mind you, I say that about every interview, Rosemary.
Well, we love hearing other people's stories. It's
We
really
do.
a wonderful thing.
Yeah, we do. Okay, everyone. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Shift Stirrers podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please hit that follow button so you get notified when we release new content. We'd love to hear from you. Feel free to reach out at theshiftStirrers@gmail.com, or you can find our individual email addresses and websites in the show notes below. We love questions. You can also connect with us on Instagram at @GIFSTIRRERS. If you found value in today's conversation, we'd be incredibly grateful if you gave us a review or a rating on our podcast platform, and it really helps others discover the show. And if you know anyone who would benefit from this episode, please share it with them. Until next time, keep stirring things up.
In the depths of silence, where echoes remain, you were the sunrise, and I was the rain. A collision of souls